Well, Dan, good morning. Thanks for joining. I'm looking forward to having a little conversation today.
Good morning. My pleasure.
Well, maybe to start, we've had a chance to talk a little this morning, and you have a incredibly fascinating background, both with running and other activities that I can't wait to dive into. But why don't we start with just the basic question, which is tell me and all of our listeners a little bit more about yourself, what you like to do for live, work, and play.
Okay, well, my name is Dan Sforza, and I live in Southern California on the coast, a town about halfway between LA and San Diego, San Clemente, and pretty much been here for the last several decades anyway. And over the years, I've done a lot of different athletic things, a lot of running. I've done a handful of marathons, several ultras, 50-mile ultras, 50K, just a couple 50s, but that's about it. And did a number of triathlons, both the shorter ones and several Ironman distance triathlons, including the Hawaiian Ironman. Now, this was all done decades ago. I'm 63 now. And since then, I've gotten into more thru-hiking, and I've done not a huge number of thru-hikes by the Thru-Hiker community standard, I guess. But for me, it's a lot. I've done the Pacific Crest Trail, the Oregon Desert, the Tahoe Rim. A couple more, the Arizona Trail, the Colorado Trail, and most recently, as of about a week or two ago, I just got off the Appalachian Trail, which goes from Springer Mountain, Georgia to Maine, Mount Katahdin. And so for me, I looked at that as getting a good training base for the MOAB, which is in about 2 months from now. And so last year I crewed at MOAB for a couple thru-hiking buddies, and they ran some, but they pretty much just thru-hiked the whole thing. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do. I'm 63, and if you go back you can go online and see the finishers since that race started, or at least since 2017 when it's online. And there's very few people my age. I think around a dozen, maybe a few more that have completed it in that time. So that's kind of my goal. I want to make the cutoff, and anything over or under that, I guess, is gravy for me. So my strategy is run walk, which is probably what everyone does. I've never done anything like that, but like I said, I crewed for it last year, and everyone walks at some point of the event. So I'm sure I'm going to be doing a lot of that, but the key is you gotta keep a certain pace up to make that time limit. So.
Wow, very impressive. So at 63 years old, you just completed the Appalachian Trail.
63, yeah.
And you're about to do the MOAB 240. And before that, which is where I think I want to start, you've done a lot of things people would put on their bucket list, and you've done many of them. The Kona Ironman, multiple thru-hikes, and triathlons and marathons. And so maybe if I just rewind the clock all the way back to the beginning, how did you get started with this sort of active endurance lifestyle? Maybe how did you get started with running in the first place as a place to begin?
Well, I've never played sports in school, but when I got out of school, in my early 20s, I applied to be a lifeguard, an ocean lifeguard, the city of San Clemente. And so I started swimming. I got in a master's program, and I got hired on as a lifeguard. And actually lived in my Volkswagen bus behind lifeguard headquarters for several seasons. But that's kind of what got me started. And then I can't remember the the first thing I got into was triathlons, and I'm sure I saw a video or something somewhere of the Ironman, or saw it on Wide World of Sports back then, and
Right.
just really wanted to do that. So that got me into the running, the swimming, and the biking, and then obviously running is something you can do anywhere. So that kind of always stuck with me. So I've always run a bit, and then started doing after the Ironman, and I did a bunch of smaller ones. There was a triathlon circuit back then, which I did a bunch of those, but just kind of got into just more of the running, and just enjoyed the longer runs.
And you were doing triathlon during the heyday of triathlon, where it was all being built in California. So that must have been a neat experience.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was never at this level, but you could see the pros. They used to have these things called the Wednesday rides from North San Diego County to San Clemente and back, and it was the who's who of the sport at the time. So it was the place to be back then if you were one to do triathlons. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. And at what point did Thru-Hiking enter the picture?
Well, the majority of my my running and whatnot was when I was younger. Like I said, I'm 63, and I have so many friends with knee replacements and hip replacements, and it's probably been 15 years. Man, I feel great. I don't have any issues. So I just kind of stopped the running, and then, raising a family and working. And then I've always worked out. I've always stayed healthy, but I didn't really do any running. And then once I retired, I was a game warden for the state of California for my career. But when I retired from that, I'd wanted to do the Pacific Crest Trail, which goes from Mexico to Canada through California, Oregon, and Washington, and which I did, and I really enjoyed it. Really enjoy those long. That wasn't really an event, but just something every day. Walking 25 or 30 miles every day. Once you adapt to it, it's really not a big deal. It's no different than someone who gets up every morning, goes to work, sits in front of the computer for 8 hours. Once you adapt to getting up in the morning and walking for 25 or 30 miles, it's something that I felt comfortable doing day in and day out. So I enjoyed it. Did more through hikes. I've rode my bike from here. I live on the coast to Florida several years ago. Just for me, anything long like that, I've always really enjoyed.
Yeah, there's so much there that is really interesting. The fact that you've had this healthy, active lifestyle for so long, and now in your 60s, I mean, you look great, and you're doing things that most people in their 20s couldn't possibly do. I think that's a testament to all the things that you've done, which are really neat. And I think it's really interesting, just the fact that you can adapt to anything. I think there's something really powerful about that, right? It's like you said, you could sit in front of a desk, you adapt to that. Well, you could just as well adapt to walking 20 miles a day if you just kind of keep doing it. I think that's really interesting about what our bodies are able to do in our minds.
I think it's certainly body, but I think it's a mindset also. Well, you know how it is. If you can mentally have a picture of you doing something, whatever it is, buying a new house or living in a certain area or doing some long distance event, if you can get your mind around it, that's to me is the most important thing. Then everything else after that kind of falls into place. So that's kind of where I'm at with the MOAB. When those two friends that I crewed for wanted me to do it with them, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I said, "You guys are crazy." And then I went and saw it. When I crewed, I was there and watched some videos, and my buddies are saying, "You should do it. We'll crew for you. We'll pace you." And I was kind of inspired by watching them and seeing them finish it. So once your mind wraps around it, for me, that's the hardest part. And now it's just doing everything that needs to be done to get ready for it. So that's where I'm at right now.
Can you tell us more about what the MOAB race is?
Okay, so the MOAB 240 is a 240-mile race. I consider it more of a run because I ain't going to be racing anybody out there. I just want to make the cutoff, which is 114 hours, which is so 5 days is 120 hours. So it's six hours short of 5 days. It's one continuous loop that begins and ends in Moab, Utah. It's a lot of it's I don't know if you remember when you're a kid, if you ever watched Roadrunner cartoons.
Sure.
It's that kind of country, but it does go up. It's I guess high desert, I guess that would be considered, but it does go up and over well over 10,000 feet twice. I believe it's twice. That was so it's not all flat, but a lot of it's are desert roads, and there's aid stations, and after the first 70 miles, you're allowed a pacer. They can't assist you; they're just there, I think, for moral support and keep you on the course. So I got 2, possibly 3 guys that are going to pace me, and I think that's a huge help. I don't know that many people actually do that without someone pacing them somewhere through it, or at least hitching on with another runner. I think it'd be extremely difficult to just be entirely solo the whole run. So the 114 hours, once clock starts, you can eat, you can sleep, but the clock's still running. So it's 114 hours, and I've gone over my different strategies. My first time, like, I'll just walk a continuous 24 hours to start, which I did on the Appalachian Trail. Intentionally I did that because I wanted to continue to walk for 24 hours to see how I felt. And I actually felt great. Walked into from Killington, Vermont to Hanover, New Hampshire in the morning, and felt good, and had breakfast, a couple cups of coffee, and then after that I was gone. My body just shut down. But I laid down for that's in Hanover, New Hampshire, where Dartmouth College is, and they allow through hikers some rec building to put your gear in the basement. And I went down there and laid on that tile floor with my arm as a pillow, and I passed out for like 20 minutes. And that 20 minutes, I afterwards I woke up and I was completely refreshed. So it was a good learning experience. I know now that there's going to be times where you're just done, and a quick little nap will bring you back to some extent.
I thought you were going to say you passed out for 20 hours, not
No.
20 minutes. That's amazing. Just 20 minutes to wake up refreshed.
And what woke me up, I think, is because it was that hard, cold tile. And but so it was hard to really get comfortable. But 20 minutes I was a new man. So I learned from that, and I hope to sleep a few minutes here and there, and feel good and be ready to continue on during the MOAB.
And the MOAB, you had mentioned it, but I think I forgot. When again is the race happening?
Middle of October.
Middle of October.
October 13th, I believe, is the first day. I could be off by a day, but I believe that's it.
So between now and then, what does the training look like to get you ready for that? Like you said, great base from doing the through hiking. You're doing that mileage every day.
Yeah. So I got back. I took a solid week off, and just getting back into it. And like I said, it's been years since I've run. So I'm starting. I walk, run a little bit, walk, run a little bit, and building up the running because I very slowly, because I haven't done it in a lot of years, and I didn't want to come up with some type of injury. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't see myself going out and running 40 miles or anything like that before the race, but I'll certainly do some super long run walks, and I'll be doing some shorter runs during that time. And I figure I'll do that till about 3 weeks out, and then kind of work on some kind of taper, which I'll have to research that a bit. I don't really know anything about tapering for something like that, or even if it's worthwhile. So,
Right.
and I don't think most people. So it sounds like I'm saying like I'm starting my training 2 months out, which I'm not, because
You
like
started it almost 40 years ago.
yeah, that but the walking the AT, like I said, I think that's as far as a base. I think I'm right where I need to be, and I know that you got to walk more than 30 miles a day for 5 days. It's actually closer to 50. But like I said, I did a few things during that hike to kind of get ready, walking the 24 hours. I did a stretch of 30 plus miles a day for 8 days, which comes up to about 240 miles. And granted, it's twice as long, almost twice as long as what you get to do the race. But then again, I
You
was
have a
carrying
heavy
a pack.
pack on. It's many days you're already out there.
Yeah, and I have a pack, and you got to cook and everything. So little things that take time that I'm not going to be carrying 20 pounds on my back during the MOAB. So it's a
Right.
little different, but I'm cautiously optimistic at
Right.
this point.
Next question. So we first met when you became a customer of Peregrune. How has your experience been with our multivitamin so far? What made you consider taking in the first place? And do you think it's something that's going to help you with potentially MOAB?
Well, that remains to be seen. I haven't. I've been taking them for about a week or so, the vitamins. So it's hard to say what the difference is at this point. But when I ordered them, I was actually looking for kind of a supplement that I could take just one supplement or vitamin and forget the vitamin B, the joint medicine, and all that. And the Peregrine combines all that, and it's based on fruits and vegetables, which I try and eat healthy. So I see fruits and vegetable. I like that, and it has the joint supplement in it, and anything. As I read the literature, anything that your body depletes as a runner or might use more of, that's what those vitamins are designed for. So I decided I try and eat healthy. I don't, I still drink beer and have ice cream and all that, but everything in moderation, right? Uh, um, so it's just something that I've added that I thought this is not only going to help me for the run, but it's part of what I consider a healthy lifestyle for me.
Last question here. Any advice that you would give to people that are looking to have an active lifestyle like you have through all the years of their life? Any advice you would give to people so that when they are 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, they can still go out there and do impressive feats like you're about to go do?
So a couple things. I would say probably the most important thing is consistency. My weight has never really fluctuated. Now, since I got off the AT, I lost 25 pounds, but I've already started putting that back on. So my body, with the exception of doing something like that, my weight never changes. That's because I stay active. I try and do something every day, whether it's a 30-minute walk, whether it's going in the garage and doing a YouTube full body workout. So that's always something that I do every day. I always make time for that. And I know if it's the day before and I like, wow, we got to do this or that tomorrow, and it's going to take this much time, I get up earlier to work out, or I make a plan somewhere in the day to do that. And then something I've noticed as I get older, nutrition is really, really important. I don't drink sodas. I try and eat healthy. I saw a TED talk once, and I forget what the whole premise of the talk was, but I remember one thing that the guy said that has always stuck with me. He said, the single most important thing you can do for your health is cook your own food. So my wife and I, we go out to dinner occasionally, but for the most part, we cook fairly healthy meals. I can't tell you I can't remember the last time I ate at a fast food joint, with the exception of something like a Subway where I'll get a sandwich. But burgers at fast food joints, it's been 20 years since I've eaten at a place like that. So I would say consistency in doing something active. You don't even have to consider it a workout, but even something like parking in the back of the parking lot to go to the grocery store. I mean, I see people all the time drive round and round looking for that close spot. I park out back, I walk, and I still beat them to the store. So consistency and staying active, and just trying to eat healthy. Those are the two things I think have kept me to the point where I can stay active and fairly injury-free.
Well said. Great advice. Thanks for sharing. Dan, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure talking with you today.
Well, you too. Thank you very much.